enough time, we also try the idea of functions, and we get to see those are the two things we covered last. I hope all members are present. I also may want to live stream this so that many more can join. Let me do that. So the streaming begins so that many can join. All right, that's fine. Now, about functions. The functions arrays, we were talking about arrays first. Arrays. So let's talk about C arrays. So the first part I want to do about C arrays, I'm working with the assumption you can see my screen. Someone need to confirm that. All right, thank you. So we are talking about C arrays. Let me just have a message there, learning about arrays in C. Just a message to display, confirm this piece of code is working fine. Good. Now, what I want to do is I want us to go step by step. The first part is I want to show you how to declare an array, declaring an array. So let's create an array for storing marks, like we did in class, for storing marks. So our marks will be whole numbers. So I'll declare that one as int marks, and I will put brackets there. I'm assuming we are going to do 5 units. I can do that. Int max, 5 of them. This is an example of a static array. Okay. Then now, each of the elements, each of the marks will be assigned a value separately. But now what I want to do is to declare and assign at the same time. So I'll immediately assign the values. So maybe there's a 90, there's an 80, there's a 70, there's an 85 somewhere, there's a 75 somewhere. So I've declared an array called marks containing 5 items or 5 elements. Those 5 elements are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now remember, they are all integers, so there's no decimal here because the array itself is of type integer. That's what I've declared. Let's continue. I'm hoping the challenge is switching between. Mudavadi, your hand is up. I don't know why, but I'll assume. So we have the array is ready. Now I want to maybe display the items in the array first. Just display them so that we see that we can work with those. So printf. I want to display each of the items separately. %d. Okay. %d on a separate line. The item itself would be max, and we want to display. Let's say we want to display the first. I'm putting a comment. Display the first array element. The first array element, we know the first element is 90. How do I display 90? I will use the statement printf. I will format the item to be displayed as what? The item to be displayed here is an integer. The value to be displayed is array max at position 0. Position 0 will be 90. So let's see how that works. Yeah, learning about C arrays, arrays in C. The first item is 90, that's correct. Now I want you to understand how the index works, the position, the index 0 works, 1, 2, 3. Remember index 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I say position 1, see where that one goes, it is telling me 80. So position 1 is this element here. If I say position 2 or index 2, it will display 70. 70 is the third item, but in terms of index or position, it is the second one. The third item in there, or the third element, but in terms of index or position, it is 2, because we count from 0, 1, 2. Let me go to number 3. You will see that he's saying at position 3, we have 85, correct? Then at position 4, we have 75. Position 4 is 75, but in terms of manual counting, 75 is the 5th item, the 5th element, but index 4 because we count from 0. So that is how you can be able to display all of this. And if you want to display all of them like that at once, you can do that manually. Have a lot of print statements. Okay, you have a lot of print statements. That is the only way to do this manually. You display everything before we use a loop. Sorry. So that becomes 1. That becomes 2. That becomes 3. That becomes index 4. So I'm now putting statements here to display the items, the first item, second, third, fourth, until 5th, using the index numbers, and the marks are displayed here. I believe up to that point we are okay. Let me see someone typing an okay here in the chat window to confirm we are together so that I know which area I need to place. If you are following up to that point, you type an okay there. That's enough, thank you. So now let's go to avoiding this method and using a loop instead. So let us now use a loop to display what is available in the array. So we are now going to use a loop. So to use, I want to use a loop, and the loop I want to use is a for loop. So I will declare a variable outside the loop, a value of 0. Okay. We initialize this. We are initializing it. So I want to have a variable called I. I can declare it outside. There's a variable called I. Then I go to the loop for I beginning 0, I ending, because we have how many items? 5. We have up to position 4, and we are beginning at 0. So I less than or equal to 4. You like it that way. Or you can say I less than 5 if you want. Then we have I plus plus. Then we enter the loop. So this part you already know. We have done several of this. So we are initializing our counter from 0 because the first item is position 0. We will be checking until I is less than or equal to 4. So that means because the last item will be index 4, that's why there is this condition. We will keep increasing from I equal to 0 to I equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. So while that is true, we will be displaying the item. Printf. Here we are displaying the item on a new line. We display on a new line. This item will be displayed on a new line. The item we are displaying is max using the counter I. We are saying max using the counter I. That means go to the array max based on the value of I. When I is 0, display the max at position 0. When I is 1, display the max at position 1. When I is 2, in that order. Okay. So when that is done, our program should be able to do justice there. You see that? Okay. Let me remove this to avoid confusing you. That's what our program is doing. Using this for loop here, we are able to display everything in the array, just like that. Let me get our confirmation you are following. Yes, 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 we are following. Perfect. So you are following that. Now, with that understanding, I want us to calculate the total marks. So we now know we have 90, 80, 70, 85, 75. What if I wanted the total? What if I want to know the total marks scored? Now, I will change this loop a little bit so that we are able to do the totals. So what I want to do is, other than int I also need int total. So a variable where I can store the total marks. I need a place to store the total marks. So I have it outside there, outside the loop. Inside the loop, what I want to do is, as I begin the loop, I will say total will be equal to, so the total I've declared up there will be assigned 0. Before you do any examination, your total is 0. So we have a variable called total, currently containing no marks. Okay? So inside the loop, we go to position 0, we pick what is there, we add it to the total. So that is total equal to total plus the current value of max I, like this. In other words, when I is 0, the first loop I is 0, at position 0 we have 90. 90 will be added to 0. The total is 90 will be stored in total. Then we increase the value of I from 0 to 1. So the reading will be 1 is less than equal to 4, which is true. At position 1, when I is 1, we are reading 80. We add 80 to what was there, 90, we get 170. Okay? Then we increase of the value of I from 1 to 2. We check that 2 is less than equal to 4 is what? 2. Then I is 2. Now when I is 2, we are reading 70. So we add 70 to 170, we get to 4. And you can keep on doing that until you end, until the program terminates. So let's check that. So it's running, but I need to display the total now. Printf total max. Total max will be total percentage D there, and the actual value is total. The actual variable is total. So total max is this. The value itself is found here, and I want this one to also be displayed like that. So you see that total max 400. I know things have been messed up here because of what we have done to what was here. Don't worry. This total max has to be displayed outside the loop, not inside the loop. We display that outside the loop. That's when it will do the justice we want, like that. See, 90, 80. If you add all of this, you will get 400. Okay. Now, if you have done that, you can also do the average max. So we have a variable for total being 0. We can do another variable for average. Average. Now, average will be float. The average can be 0.0. When you have done nothing so far, the average will be 0.0. So we come and do the calculations. How do you get the average? So average will be equal to total divided by how many items do we have? 5. We have 5 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So average will be the total minus over 5. And now we need to display the average also. So I'll come and say average mark. Average mark. This one will be the AVG. And this will be 0.2F to 2 decimal places. So we run that. Oh, this one should start on a new line. Okay. Let it start on a new line. Yeah, so it takes all these marks, gets you the total 400, and when you divide the total by 5, you get 80. And I've said 2 decimal places, it's saying 80.00. If I say point F, it means 1 decimal place. It will it means it means no decimal place. So if I say 0.1 F, 0.1 F, it means 1 decimal point, like you see there. But if you don't want the decimals, you can just ignore that. And it will put all the decimals. So if you don't want any of those, what do? You say point, it displays without the point, without the decimals. If you want 1 decimal, 0.1. If you want no decimals, just say point only, point F. It will display the number without the decimal, just like that. But I think it makes sense for the average to be a whole number as well. Or you can make it 2 decimal places if you want to make the real impact like that. Understood? Is it understood? Thank you for confirming. Someone is saying no display. Please disconnect and connect again. If you can't see what I'm displaying, just close the browser and log and join again. What happens when the size of the array indicated in the square bracket? Let me read that message. What happens when the size of the array indicated in the square bracket does not match the number of elements listed in the curly brackets? If there's a mismatch, you will see an error. Obviously, there'll be an error. For example, if when we are creating the array up here, we said 4, but we assigned 5. The array size, we have said the number of elements expected is 4, but we have assigned it 5, which means these 5 elements cannot fit in the space we gave. You will have a problem. See that? It's telling you, can you read the excess elements? That's the warning you're being told. Excess elements. And the excess element has been pointed out. Is 75. Yeah? Because you said 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the excess elements. Even the compiler can be able to tell you there's something wrong. Now, if you do the opposite, you said 6, but you assigned 5, what happens? It works. Because it's easier to put fewer items in a larger space than to put more items in a smaller space. That should be the logic. I believe the one who asked that question has been answered. I need confirmation. Confirmation that you are answered. Was that?
Yeah, I'm answered.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me see what else someone could be asking. Anyone who is not seeing my display, what I've shared? There are those who said they had a problem seeing what I was sharing. Is the problem still persistent, or you are able to sort it out? I asked you to close the window and join again. That should be a quick fix. Or you want me to share the code with you? Yeah, when you are doing the totals and the averages, do that outside the loop. Because if you try to do it inside the loop, it will keep repeating itself. You see, when we do, let's try it. Let me show you what that means. If I try to put these things inside the loop, look at what would happen to your code, to your program. Where I am doing everything inside the loop, you will have a serious problem. Look at how things happen now. Total max 90, average is 18, and then it adds 80, which was the next max. The first one was 90, the second was 80. So it's adding this one to this one, and it's adding 70 to the other output. It gets messy. Do these things outside, do this outside the loop. Do them outside the loop, so that inside the loop, we are only doing the addition. We are only trying to read everything and adding to the total. But now to display the actual total, do it outside when everything has been done inside the loop. Okay, so I believe this is working. Now I want to give you a simple test. Now I want to give you a program I found online. I found a very interesting program online that I want to show you. Let me copy the code and paste it here. I found it somewhere and I thought it's a nice one to learn from also. So I've copied the code. Now look at this. The program is telling me enter the marks of 15 students. So let us assume we have student number 1 gets 90, enter. Another one gets 75, enter. 45, enter. 82, enter. Another one gets 56, 76, 56, 60, 71, 55, 87, 74, maybe 66, and 68. And finally, maybe another one scores 90. So you see that? So I've entered everything, and finally it has said the average mark of the class is 70.07. Now this program, if you look at it, I'll explain it because I'm also sharing that code with you, by the way. I'm not even sharing the code. Let me share the link so that you can access where it was coded. I'm sharing the link. Go to that site is Quora. That's a website where people ask questions about technical things. Someone was asking on that website, how can I write a C program to find and print the average marks of a class of 15 students, where marks range from 1 to 100? And if you click that link, you take you to this website, Quora, and the answer is provided. The question is here, and the code is here. So I've shared everything with you. When you run that code, it gives you this. Now, what is beautiful about this program? You are aware of this. You know hash include, standard input. In the main function, we are displaying the message. So we create an array. If you are studying this code, when you are studying this code, you will notice the first part is you are creating an array to hold the total marks. So we are doing for 15 students. And you don't have to do it for 15 students, by the way. You can do it for 10 students, or even a smaller number like 7 students. So in that case, this will be 7 students. If I do that, it will only take for 7 students, 80, 90, 90, 77, 87, 74, 96, and 45, and maybe 56. It's taking up to 8, or I did 10. Am I doing 10 or what? He's saying int max 7, whole number of up to 7 students. So we need to rerun this, because that's, or down here, it also needs to be 7. Down here, it needs to be 7 too. So let me do here 76, 88, 67, 90, 87, and 56. And finally 65. You see, it's now calculating for 7 students instead of 15. So the message is not the one I've not changed. So the message here should also change to reflect the number of students. Here, number of 7 students. Okay. So if you want for 3 students, it should be straightforward. Change that one to 3. Change this one to 3. Okay. That comment to 3. The variable down here to 3. So we only be doing 3 students. First students gets 80. Second students get 90. The other one gets 75. Those are 3 maximum. The average marks of the class is 16.33. Is that true? No. It's because of the calculation here where we are doing the average that's not working right. The average, where is it? The average is still 15 instead of 3. All right. So you do that. Now we do 90. The other one scored 80. The other one scored 70. It says the average is 80, which is correct. Okay. So that is, if you want to play with the code, you can do that. You can do that to play with the code. The average is that average correct? Is that average correct? 80.
Yes.
170 plus 70 to 40 divided by 380. Correct. That's correct. So you understand what's happening here. Now, in this kind of program, a little bit more involving, you have 2 loops. You have a while loop inside a for loop. You have a loop inside a loop. So the while loop will ensure that the marks you're entering are operating between 1 and 100. So if you try to enter outside that, look at what the program will do. Student number 1, I enter 70. Now for student number 2, let me make a mistake. Let me enter something like 300. You see what the program says? Invalid input, please enter marks between 1 and 100. Now let me be serious and enter 80. Now it says it has accepted 80 and it's saying student 3. And now it's doing the correct average because there is 70, there is 80, there is 90. So when you enter something wrong, it corrects you, but it allows you to continue with the program. This is the kind of program you need to learn from to complete your project successfully for those who have not. Okay? For those who have not. Now let's talk about functions. Let's talk about functions to end that part. I believe we are okay. At least you have a basic understanding on how to deal with arrays, especially when you're using a loop to manage what's in an array. So let's talk about functions. Let's talk about functions. Let me get a blank file here. We create a function. Let me create a function at the top. Let me create a function at the top. Meanwhile, if you have a question, please ask me. If you have a question, please ask me before I go to functions. Any question? Questions, please, if you have about the program that we have just seen. You have no question? Ratemo, you have a question? It appears. Your hand is up.
I'm asking. Yeah, I was referring if in the project that you gave us, everything that we have learned must actually need.
If everything we have learned today is required.
Yeah, it's a must that it must reflect in the work that we left us.
No. It doesn't have to be there.
Okay.
It depends on the type of project you chose. Okay? Yeah, it depends on the project you chose.
Fine, thank you.
All right, then. Anything else? I want to spend about 15 minutes or 10 minutes talking about functions, and then we close. All right, in the absence of a question, let's do something. So we want to create a function that will add any two numbers. And I want to create the function before the main function, okay? I want to create it at the top so that when we start working, we are okay. So let's create the function here. And we start with the type of the function. This is going to be an integer related function. We can call it int calculate sum. For example, int calculate sum. And for this function to work, we need two variables, a and int b. A function will require a body there, and all the function does is to return a plus b, as we studied in class. So this function is called calculate sum. It's of type integer because it's going to handle integers only, and it will require two parameters, a, an integer, b, an integer also. Now, what does it do inside the body from the opening curly bracket to closing? What the function does is it takes a and b, adds them together, and that's what it returns to wherever it will be called. So we are going to call it later on so that we can benefit from what it does. So inside the main function, now let's try to create a scenario where we need numbers to be added. So let's use the function. Let us use the function calculate sum. Okay. I want us to use that function called calculate sum. That's just a statement. Anyway, so the next thing I want to do now is to I want to get the two numbers. I want to get, because the function requires a and a b, I must provide those values a and a b. Okay. So let us assume now we are asking a user to enter two numbers to be added together. So we ask a user, enter two integers. Enter two integers. Enter two integers. Then we go to scanf. Scanf, we want to format those two integers, %d, %d, and there will be and x and y. So I need to have those variables declared somewhere here. at the top. So int x and y. So I have two variables, x and y. When a user enters those two values, they will be stored. The first one will be stored in x. The second one will be stored in y. Okay. So I want now to store to display the final answer. Print f. Or I can now do the calculations, and I need a variable. I need a variable to store the total int results. We have a variable called result. So result would be calling the function we created called calculate sum. And as you call calculate sum, you provide it with the values of x and y. You call it and provide it with the value. So as you call calculate sum, this one, you provide the two values, because calculate sum requires two values a and b, which are similar to what we are providing here under x and y from the keyboard. So x will map to a, y will map to b, and when they go there, it's like saying return x plus y. So with that, then now we can display the actual result with a print statement. So here I can say the result of this one plus this one is this one. The first one is x, the second one is y, the third one is the result. So I can say the total of, or I can simply say x plus y equals this. The calculation is going to be done inside this function we created up here. Let me see whether that is correct or something is missing. Percentage, 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 and then we return 0. Enter two integers, 56 plus 64. So it's saying 56 plus 64 is 120. So what's happening? 56 was x, 64 was y. So here we got them from the keyboard using scanf. This is, when I typed 56, it was stored in variable x. 64 was stored in variable y. Now x was sent to where a is, here. Y was sent to where b is, here. Then the function said return 56 plus 64, meaning 120. Now, when I'm calling this function here saying result equal to calculate sum 56, 46, these were added together to make it 120. So 120 was stored in result. And here I'm technically displaying the value of x plus the value of y equal to the value of result. That's how you make use of a function. You have created a function to help us. So even if I run it with different numbers, 7, 9, it will always be automatically calculating for us. 7 plus 9 is 16. If I do it for 45, and there may be 9, a number like this, automatically it will be calculating for us 9, 21. So that's how we work with functions in a nutshell. You create it, then you call it. This is what you're calling a function. You write the name of the function, and you provide the values that I needed in the function. The function needs two values, integers a and b. You provide two integers a and b. That's how you work with functions. And I would like to end the class in here, unless